Josh, if you could unmute and
Yes,
just give me your
sir.
full name and let me know who you're representing here today.
Josh Jacobs with Aircon Manufacturing.
Okay, great. Welcome. Josh, you expect anyone else to join us here on the applicant
Just
owner side of this project?
just me from Aircon.
Okay, cool. All right, we also have Trey Sheldon from the zoning department. Welcome, Trey.
Good morning, David. I wasn't sure whether someone from Community and Economic Development would participate in this or not, but they did provide a letter signed by the director.
Okay.
It's
All
part,
right, great. Yeah. If
it's part of the
anyone if
record
anyone
anyhow,
does
so
join.
that pretty much, her statement pretty much sums up most of what I even had to say in my staff report, so.
Okay. Yeah, if anyone tries to join midway through the hearing, I generally let them in. So if that happens, I'll bring them in. Okay, I need to read through our hearing script. This will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll get started. So this is the January 10th, 2024 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. The case before us today is case number ZH20230180. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any potential opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. If there were anyone here from the public, they'd have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. We'll hear from the zoning department. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony. And then finally, the applicant can make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly. But to the extent there is some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if you intend to provide testimony, if you could raise your right hand, I need everyone to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah.
Do.
Uh, Great. All right. Fantastic. Um, Josh, are you ready?
Yes,
Tell
sir.
me about the project. Okay, go ahead.
Uh, okay, so for the past 3 years, we've been attempting to acquire city parcels, some of which we have leased from the city for a handful of years, and everything has moved fairly smoothly with regards to the city and acquiring that property. Uh, in applying for the purchase of this property, we were considered a developer so that it could be, I guess, sold to us at fair market value in lieu of going to market for this property. So we were able to acquire the property. Our initial plan was to add on to our existing facility. Um, and in that process, we met with some local engineers and also construction managers and determined that the excavation required to add on to our existing facility, along with the drainage and water runoff requirements, were just going to be too expensive for us to move forward. So at that point, we decided to get a hold of the city managers. Um, we elected to move to a smaller design, 5,000 square feet, separate building, so that we could build on geographically our building or our land is on a slope. So putting this new 5,000 square foot expansion in a location which does not connect to our existing facility allows for it to be more easily constructed. So we submitted the permits. We understand that the permits were reviewed and now a variance being required because the building is not attached to the existing structure. So that's where we stand as far as Aircon is concerned.
Okay. And so, um, it looks like, is this technically in a front or side yard?
Oh, it's one of the two, simply because there is, I want to point out, there is a corner parcel that is still owned by, it's either Norton or Lamar. I can't recall. But the very corner
Norton.
there, if you were looking at, is it Norton? Okay, there's a big outdoor advertising sign with a bunch of trees behind it that's right at the corner. But suffice it to say that the rear yard of this property would be back toward the rear yard of this property would be back toward the railroad tracks, which is to the west side. So this is variously front yard to corner side, if you will. Does that make sense?
It's a very irregular lot. The front of our building, the office entrance, is adjacent to the railroad tracks, which would be the west side of the property. So for us, that back area, we call it the backyard, where we want to expand. But from another's perspective, that might be considered the front yard. And obviously, we're not zoning experts, but just to give you an idea of how our operations are situated, the railroad tracks are considered our front of our building.
And for zoning, for practical matters, it's exactly the opposite, because you don't have any frontage back there. That's not a street. And so, someone could have 5 doors on there. If it was a dwelling, somebody's house, they could have 5 doors on it, and it doesn't really matter, from a zoning standpoint. It matters where the street frontage is. So it may seem like technicality here, but that's why you need the relief to proceed forward. And as soon as it wasn't an addition rather than and it became a detached accessory structure, required this relief.
Understood.
Gotcha. Okay. And so, as I look at this, it does look like a pretty tight site. I mean, is there anywhere else on the property that you considered trying to locate this structure?
No, this is the only area we feel we can expand our operations, again, based on the geography of the land. And there's, I guess, another issue that we try to overcome on a daily basis is getting trucks in and out. So we did look at entering our site off of Erie Court as opposed to Brotherton Court. KZF architects performed some modeling to see what it would look like for trucks entering off of Erie, maybe configuring the building a little bit differently. But it actually became worse. The building would need to be even farther away from what we have now, or an extreme amount of excavation and storm water runoff revisions.
Gotcha. Okay. And it looks like this is going to be located near that group of trees there. How many of those trees are you going to need to remove in order to construct this?
Yes, a lot of that I would call shrubbery and just overgrowth. There are a few trees within that. I would say really just 2 or 3 what I call grown trees. And in fact, those aren't in very good shape, but I would say if you're looking at that foliage, maybe half of it.
Gotcha. Okay. Will there be any other buffering between this structure and that intersection there with Erie Court and Red Bank?
Currently, there is a fence, and that fence would remain.
Okay. All right. Anything else you wanted to tell me about the project before I let Trey weigh in here?
That's it from us.
Sure. Trey?
Sure. Yeah, I did think about the buffering there, David. It does look like I did kind of a street view, and it does look like some of the mature trees that are along there will be remaining. And then there's the Norton deer. You literally have a very large outdoor advertising sign with mature trees behind it immediately, at the intersection. And
as a side note, I reached out to them to attempt to acquire that property as well, but it's just too valuable to them to let go. So
yeah, that's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah.
On that,
Trey, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that, of course, this is, several hundred feet away from any, it's in my staff report, but there's significant buffering. I mean, you're crossing over a major, basically the expressway there. It's a Red Bank Expressway. It's not even Red Bank Road at that point, just a major thoroughfare. And then on the opposite side, I included an aerial, Cage's aerial there in my staff report, and you can see that there's substantial vegetation between, pockets of it and within the interchange. And then where most of the development is to the north, east of the property there, the northeast of the subject property. And it's some 60 to 80 feet higher in elevation with the whole, looks like about 5 acres of mature trees all along that hillside. So it's not as if someone's they're gonna see this right out of their house. If there is some kind of view that people have out of any of those dwellings that are up there, like I said, I'll have to check my notes. I think it was 60 or more feet higher in elevation up there. And if they do have a view impinged right now, I mean, they're looking west onto a major substation of electric directly to the north of the subject property is a major sorry, my phone's ringing. Try to mute that. Anyhow, there's a major substation directly to the north of the subject property, and if there's any view that anybody will have from those residences, it would be of that because of the sheer height of all the electrical equipment and so on. So, but I can't see this having any kind of significant adverse impact on the property. In fact, I mean, right now, as Josh mentioned, they're gonna maintain their privacy fence. Now, right now, the land that they had used that they were leasing from the city, they had a lot of stuff stored outdoors that frankly, if I was a neighbor, I'd consider that to be a lot more unsightly than a brand new warehouse building. As a practical matter, they basically had outdoor storage going on there, and that's not conforming with not being enclosed and so on. But so you're basically, I guess, you're going to reduce a nonconformity here and bring something more into compliance because they won't have to have all that stuff stored out there. They'll have it nice and tidy.
Yep.
Anything else with regard to my staff report?
No, I think that's it. And I was able to review the correspondence from DCED and read through your staff report. So I appreciate your work on that. Thanks. Josh, anything else you wanted to provide or say in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today?
No, that's a good point. I guess the only thing I would add is when we initially met with Madisonville Community Council, they were excited for us to do something with that, unsightly storage as well. And that is one of the points of this project is to clean up our yard. As I mentioned, that's our backyard, so that's kind of an unsightly area for us as far as operations go. But when you pull up to our site and customers pull up to our site, the first thing they see is a yard full of stored fabricated parts. And we like the idea aesthetically of having good looking building there, new building, so that when you get to our property and you see Aircon Manufacturing, you're seeing a nice new building and not that yard.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. So I think we can leave it at that. I agree that if anything, this will improve any adverse impacts, visual impacts right now, or that exist right now. It certainly won't make the visual impact any worse for any of the nearby properties or passing traffic. So I've had a chance to review the application materials, the staff report. Based on that, based on the testimony, I think it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code of this project. I also sort of agree with, I mean, there really is no other place on this property to locate this. And so again, based on all of that, I'm going to approve the application. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. I mentioned at the beginning that typically takes about 2 weeks. I'll do whatever I can to get that out to you as quickly as possible. As soon as I finish the decision, I put it into a PDF. I'll email it to you and to Trey. As soon as Trey has that, he can approve the permitting on his end. And hopefully at that point you can move forward as long as nothing else is holding you up over here. Any questions about anything?
No, I appreciate it, gentlemen.
Okay.
It means a lot to us as an organization, and I'm happy to move forward.
Great. Fantastic. Well, good luck on the project and good luck in the future. If you have any questions in the meantime, just feel free to reach out. Otherwise, have a